Good morning, everyone. Hey, we're getting a little pop here in the markets. Yep. So let me get the charts up here. Getting a little ahead of myself. All right. So little pop, not a big deal. Markets, for the most part, are just chopping around here after end of last week's whipping around. But you see things are up, and where this is at, we look at the SPY and the Qs, but they're gapping up to near the top of Friday's bar, pretty close to it. Overall, it's just chopping around, as you could see here. A little bit of a rollover, a new high failure. It's in an uptrend. And I'm thinking, just based on some of the stuff I looked at over the weekend, I think that prices got to come down a little bit more. They are short-term extended, not big deal. One of the things we talked about last week was that this move came out of a 6-week consolidation. And that's a positive because it puts a big level of price support down below. So even if prices come down, and this was a bit of an ugly bar on here on the 30th, which would obviously was suggesting would go down. And we had those earnings reports coming out and prices popped up and they jiggled around and we got the little sell off and it was kind of fun, intraday popping around. And on the daily time frame, it's just consolidating the gain for the moment. So some kind of move to the downside would, we believe, just based on the chart, would be viable. Now we'll have to see whether it corrects sideways, whether it comes down. Factory work, as we call it, rising 20 MA. So overall, things look good. They're just correcting here a little bit, and we got a little bit of a rounding bottom here. Let's look at NASDAQ. That's what's stronger. And you can see the extension, the big ugly day and reversal. So this sideways on the 65-minute and this little pop here this morning in the context of what's to the left really isn't a big deal unless you're trading here this morning, any of these moves. And overall prices are just correcting, consolidating a bit so far sideways. That big red bar, you want to set an alert, even on the spiders, Qs, whatever. You're saying a big red bar like that, you want to set an alert at that bar's high and low. You see, I've got this referenced off here with little red and green bands with alerts in that area. The Dow isn't doing much of anything, but also short-term extended, whippy tails, small candle bodies, not much going on other than consolidating. But this one, if this is going to break down, has, I think, the best opportunity. The Qs, tech is loved. It is extended. It could have a larger pullback. However, this, I like the fact that, here, reversal, new high, rejected, push up, rejected. It's in the bottom of the range. So if it could break down here, there is the potential to trend down lower. The Russell is kind of disappointing after it moved up. This was the only one. I think, was it here or here? I mean, it moved one of the ones that led the way up. So institutions, managers are still hyped on small caps being where to go. They've moved up a lot, but they pulled back a lot. So major support down here. They're holding for the moment. And because of this is already down to support, I wouldn't be thinking on the short side of this, when you've got the Dow that has this big empty void down below, as a better opportunity, but it might go down and retest these lows and we'll see what it does down there. This chart over here is something I wanted to point out. that, if you go back and look, and this was what I wrote about in the weekend letter, was that while these indices are making new all-time highs, under the hood is nasty what's been going on. I mean, things topped out, and news being as it is, where everything sounds great. You go back and look at in the middle of the summer, consumer confidence was up at around over 90%. All the news was positive, and that's where almost everything topped out. Not this. It was still going up, but now this is starting to play catch up on the downside. Business equipment. Now, look at what AI is doing. It's destroying jobs. Now, probably the same thing happened with every type of evolution of technology, but people are losing their jobs in a big way. And you see over here in May, this is when that consumer confidence after this run up was at its highest. And so now it looks like it's reaching a capitulation stage. So, well, we're looking day to day, what we can trade, of course. Intermediate term, my thought was, or is, let's go to the spiders for a second. These have started correcting. This looks like it's in a capitulation situation at the moment. Many times, what happens, and it could be in a particular sector or the broader markets, what is strong gives it up at some point. And these, while likely to go down some more, are closer to a bottom. That's what we would assume when something goes down like this. It's still got room to fall. You look over to the left, there's nothing there. So it certainly could go down some more. But staffing and outsourcing, not pretty. Business services, not pretty. So that's on support. There's some ugly things going on under the hood. And you just look at this breadth internal gauge here, market at new all-time highs, and this is below zero. Historically, never been good. And historically leads to some corrective price action. So far, it's been sideways. You see the spiders here. And so they're gapping up to the high. You see my cursor there. They're gapping up to the high of that red bar. And one thing that we know for quite a while, shorting this market has not been profitable. It happens in moments, but you see a lot of red bars ignored as you look to the left there. And these bars that suggest lower have doing what they're doing now, overall, not going anywhere. And it'll be interesting, as every day is, to see where this ends the day. Can it close up there? Can it retest those highs? Can it get through any of that resistance? You need to press that. But that gap up is bullish. It's right into resistance. So I'm not thinking long, not yet. But the upside for today, I think, is limited. The downside is probably limited. If the Dow breaks down, the Dow futures break down, I think that's where the opportunity is. Let's go back. Let's look at the Qs. Here, that up. And so you can see that's close to resistance as well, but it's gapping up to the top of this bar. So still just going sideways. I think we always think we look at charts, and until we get something definitive, I don't know how much we're going to get something definitive as far as we get the next red bar, but how many red bars could there be before it actually pulls back? So today, we'll see. Does it hold on to its gain, or does it close red again? Because that gapped up and closed red. This gapped up and closed red. And so if it closes red again, at some point, it would make sense that buyers begin to think, this just ain't working. And so pulls back again, yet to be seen. So just got a trading range so far, playing ping pong back and forth. Now we did get a topping tail on the weekly time frame with an unfilled gap down below. And it's had a heck of a run, not only from the lows, but over the last couple of weeks. So that opens up the door to some kind of a correction sideways or down. All right. Let's see where IWM is. Just flip-flopping around. Maybe, we could get a red bar today. So none of these charts are supportive of thinking about taking positions, swing trading positions. Not at all. Credit spread, zero ZT credit spreads any day of the week. As always, look at the chart where support and resistance is their premium. You only have intraday risk, and that's what makes them attractive. Now, there was talk earlier in the year, I believe, of having zero DTE on active stocks. I don't think, as far as I know, it hasn't happened, but you got spiders and Qs, they just don't have the premium that SPX does. Meanwhile, every day of the week that the market is open so far, Trent is selling naked puts and doing very well with it in the green room. You can sell them naked, it ties up some capital, of course, but the way the markets have been trading, the odds are on your side that you can get far enough away. It isn't going there because buyers keep stepping up. Yeah, Dan is sharing that they've been talking about a pilot program for years, those in social media. So maybe that'll come to fruition at some point. I think that would be great. I'm surprised they haven't done it because it's got to be a huge profit center for them. All right. SPX, this may have moved a little bit. Let me just double check since it had that little pop before. Yes, it did. Popped up a lot. Closer to where it was on Friday. I came up to 15. No, on the other side of a whole number, below a whole number. It's gapping up here. The downside should be a no-brainer. So even a little bit under 6,800. These are the extremes for the day, which rarely get hit. Sometimes they do. They rarely get hit. Here's your average true range, 65 points, 5-day average true range. So things are tightening up. A couple of weeks ago, this was over 100, back here as it started to explode. So we got whole numbers on both sides. I suspect even if it gets up there, it'll back off and we're probably going to have another ping pong kind of a day. Let's look at others. Volatility index, there's nothing going on there. It's just down there at the lows. Oil. So there was the news this morning on Saudis increasing, decreasing, whatever they're doing. Sometimes the news is just smoke and mirrors. In any event, this was a power move up into resistance. It's a shallow pullback. It's starting to make the turn. And oil stocks have been doing relatively well. They don't look, XLE doesn't look great, but it kind of looks like that. But you can see the power move, and they're not doing much of anything here. But we got to see where there's going to be rotation. Like gold, I don't think it's ready for prime time yet. You see, just whipping back and forth here. I would prefer a move down into this area, one more leg down before it begins to stabilize. And right now, it's just chopping around, not doing too much. You can see how extended that got as it exploded out of this base in the summer. I think maybe a little more consolidation. And even if I eyeball this, I don't have to get out the protractor or the fib tool, but around 3,800 looks like at about 50% to me, give or take. Now, silver, this was interesting. I don't think it's ready yet either. But as I was looking through news items and something came up, I don't know which website it was. A fellow was talking about silver. I'm trying to remember what he said it was needed for, but it was pretty compelling why silver should continue to go up. I can't remember at the moment. Anyway, uh, they made a very, and I can see this head and shoulders topping pattern, but whenever we talk about head and shoulders patterns, I always say, set an alert under the neckline, set an alert up near the high. That's it. Thank you, Patrick. Solar panels. And if you listen to Musk did a podcast last week talking about solar, and it's so everything is so interesting around the news. Solar was the biggest dog, right, anywhere under Biden when he came um, president. If he was the president, who the hell knows? Um, but it's been going up and up and up. And is that extended a bit? Yeah, yes, it is. But silver, solar, all these things, it sounds like the future. I guess it is the future, right? Alternative energy, getting rid of oil and so on. All right. Bitcoin down pretty big, but overall slopping around here. Nothing to do, but whenever Bitcoin isn't loved, or Ethereum, or any of the little coins out there, but we keep an eye on them because sooner or later they're going to turn around. And lastly, interest rates before I turn it over to Dan right now. They've come up off of the low here. So if they continue to move up, as you can see, they are, and the dollar's moving up, interest rates moving up, dollar moving up, market extended, smells like a little correction coming to me. All yours, Dan. Good. We could use a correction. Hope everyone enjoyed their Halloween weekend. More AI news. I've been saying that for weeks, if not months, that we're just in that time right now. Just totally reminds me of the internet days in the late 90s. The gas station would say that they're going to open up a website and they will stock rocks. So that's what's making Amazon ripping here today. Just any deal with AI, you've got a 99% certainty this is the market is programmed for that right now. So you can't fight it. You just got to be aware of it and see if we can find trading opportunities. But this other one, Iran's doing a deal. Look at that thing blasting off. This is actually on my I was going to put this in the letter, but it's 11.6 earnings. So that's a nice pattern at the 20. There's a deep buy setup, went up, higher low, V top. Okay, but now we can't do anything with it. And then Dell is participating. They're getting some big order. That's bullish. Dell, it's powerful uptrend. And Microsoft was up today, and then it kind of sold off on that Amazon news. But this ran into earnings on, guess what? More AI news. It did a deal with AI, and that's what caused this. And then it sold off on earnings. So that's still a big old mess. All right, so Amazon, I actually had as a call spread closing at look at this. This is pre-market, so ignore it. We had a beautiful 0 DTE trade on that on Friday.
This fits in the category of it's bullish as heck gap. It's an igniting bullish gap, but it's excessive. And we use the 15-minute chart just to do a 1, 2, 3 breakdown, and I sold a call spread. And so I had another call spread because of this, the way it closed here, and no problem. We didn't enter. We just canceled it. All right, because Amazon's ripping, we're in XLY in the ETF letter. My up alarm just went off on that. Hey, Alex, I know how you like island reversals. Yesterday, Friday's gap up made that a bull island reversal. And that's exactly why on Friday, I moved our stop under Thursday's low. Right, RIG-T, remember these stocks? This one was in the weekend letter. RIG-T looks great. Again, a deep buy setup, but it's repaired going sideways and has a void. And a bunch of his cousins are reporting this week, these quantum computing stocks. PAGS alarm. Just nice vanilla buy setup from a bottoming pattern. Got rising 20, 50, 200. All right, it was gapping up, coming in a little bit. Let me put that in the window. PAGS. But it's not an excessive gap, so that will be good to go. 5-minute high or gap fill, whatever. That looks great. QBTS. Oh, thanks, Steve. All right, so here's another quantum computing breaking out, but earnings on the 6th. So that's 3 days. 3 days. Oh, but it's 3 days pre. So today's 3rd, 4th, 5th. Oh, we still have 3 days, so that's fine. That one's fine. And look at the 15-minute charts holding like a tank. Put that in the window. Wait, I forgot if I made this one official or not because of earnings. I did. Yeah, and I marked earnings. Okay, cool. So that one's, let me just tell them right now. UBTS will go on gap fill or 5-minute high. You know what? Same tags. So I won't have to watch them. AAL, I had an alarm. That's going to be a put spread, but it came back in, so I reset it. BAC, in the big banks are doing a lot of good looking ones. My up alarm went off. Now it's pulling in, and it had a favorable Barron's article. So I'm actually, with the spiders up, surprised that's down, but it's fine. We'll trade it if it hits. Yep, Neo alarm went off, Thomas. 7:37. Okay, so I'm going to say Neo to the advisory letter. Gap fill or 5-minute high. Look at bottom right here, KMB. They're buying that company, MView or KView, that is the one that makes that Tylenol the government's been going after. But that is a nasty reaction to a buyout. I don't know what percent. You could maybe ask ChatGPT is smart enough to do it really quick. Of what percent of acquirers go down on buying companies? I would venture to say it's like 85, but rarely have I seen such a devastating gap down from a real company, KMB, Kimberly-Clark. So that's shareholders saying they do not like that purchase at all. Imagine if you're on the board And that's what your stockholders are telling you, that you are out of your friggin' mind of what you've just done. So why don't they get fired? Because they've just destroyed 20% of shareholder wealth, or whatever percent it is. I'm rounding. You know, just think about that theoretically. It's like they did something so reckless that, let's just say you just had 100,000 notional value. All right, so 15%. But so now you have just lost $15,000 because of their idiotic purchase. You have a right to be mad at them. I sure as hell would be. All right, those are all my alarms. We're still in neg trail mode. That looks fine. Now the cipher I saw moving up. Okay, so that was earnings. So that looks great. Well, sure, that's okay. That's going up too much now. But cipher, if we can do an 18 put spread, that would be great. Or for directional, we need a pullback. Yeah, cipher was earnings. Let's go to, Pelletier look good, but that has earnings after the bell. That's running into earnings. Let's go to earnings here, and there's a couple of them. ASX, Climo, nothing to do. IDXX, that's what I call a headache pattern. But look at the gap. Well, it's excessive. What are you going to do with them? Aries, I had as a potential bottoming pattern, but gapping up to 162 is too big. Peg is a mess. Reinert Air, I would have put this in the weekend letter as a directional breakout, but for earnings, now it's gapping up too much. Last El Lima, nothing. CNA, nothing. There's our cipher. Barker, 37 bucks, bearish gap with no pattern. Price 196. All right, so this one's a bio, unfortunately, but this would be a fantastic setup for 1, 2, 3. Look at the MAs, look at the trends, look at this closing breakout. You had an inside bar. That would be beautiful for tomorrow. Flat, nothing. All right, I have an alarm at 34.40. This would be a good red bar ignored breakout, but you do got a sell setup on the weekly. On Durex, getting beat up. These are all my earnings, so I got nothing on the earnings. BNS, which is a Canadian bank alarm, just went off. Buy setup, flat 20 into rising 50. So I see one gap up there at 65.90. Let's, the general rule, I don't trade in the first 5 minutes myself unless there's a gap trade with a beautiful pre-market setup. And on Mondays, I don't know why, I just like waiting 10 minutes, let things settle down more. Seems like there's just a little bit more whip from weekend news. And UE alarm. This one, there's no good entry for directional. So I decided to give the 145 puts. So I'll be watching that at the open. I'll be watching Cipher at the open. I'll be watching KMB at the open, these option trades. But I'll bet KMB is going to be spready. It's going to be. Okay, so in KUE, though, I said it has to get over the closing price, which it's not doing. So let me reset the alarm. Q is the strongest, obviously, on the back of NVIDIA and Amazon. NUE. Yeah, spreads are asinine on NUE, but actually I'm gonna set a low alarm. NUE 147.50. US. We're in the put spread and we covered half into strength, but Thomas, I'm not sure what you're asking me. There's no question there. But for the put spread, we're just sitting with it. With a break even stop. An alarm. Watch for what? What? I don't even know what you're thinking. That's a bearish 50% gap. So I'm not interested as a long. I'm interested in playing defense on our put spread. Team alarm. I'm just saying, we have a put spread on this. And this, it ran too much, but that I was hoping to get a 1, 2, 3. I'm tightening this up here now. 160.
And did you think about a call spread on Amazon? Maybe under 15-minute low or something? I mean, that's a monster move in 2 days.
All right, 164.
Russell dropping again.
Yeah, I see a lot of my 15-minute charts, and I'm in very nervous mode here.
I had an alert on the percentage of stocks sort of below the 200 MA, and it's been going sideways. It broke a little lower this morning, so it went under my alert. Yeah, it's ugly stuff going on out there. So
Yeah, a lot of things coming in, non-controlled manner. GSM, actually, this was the one I said red bar ignored breakout. That I had an alarm at 34.40. Not chasing, but looks good. Watch a pullback. All right, the cipher I said I was going to watch and see if there's any juice at 18. All right, PAGs filled the gap, so that's a go. Cipher 18. Cipher 18 is 15 cents is all, but that's a nice gap. All right, Tesla is triggering for a put spread. Let's check the juice. Um, yeah, I prefer a potent turn, but sure. One of you mentioned phase C, Thomas. Yeah. Tesla 435. Midpoint is 95, so we might get that 110. All right, I'm gonna say, yeah, 90. Yeah, wow, things moving. That's pretty good juice on Tesla being so far away. Ciphers remaining strong. Tags hits. Neo. I said gap fill. 5-minute high. So let's 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 hold off on Neo. That's it. I don't want to buy 5-minute high. QETS. Oh, it didn't even. All right, so the anchor is 37.62. 37. NUE low alarm. So let me check the puts now. 37.63. And my big computer's acting freaking slow. Man, very slow.
Amazon reversal, 5 minute.
Yeah, but Don, I didn't want to pay. I don't want to pay 5 minute high these prices, and it didn't show the gap. Ah, you're saying it. You're saying it. Ah, I see what you're saying. You're saying from the entry. I was talking about the gap fill of Friday's gap fill, but oh, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Okay, no, I follow you now. I didn't know what you were saying about it hitting it 3 times. Um, shit, I just fat fingered something. Look at that. Look, I don't know what the hell I did. I just made this really fat.
Your finger there.
I know I did it. I know I did. I did something and fat fingered it. And I don't know what the hell I did. No, but oh, move this with a mouse. It won't let me grab it. Look how thick this is, and it's supposed to be narrow. Yeah, AAL. Yeah, put spread. Yep, my alarm went on. Yeah, I gave it as a put spread. I don't know if it got filmed. I